Hi viewers, I'm Usman Muzaffar and today we are going to start a series of lecture on test automation. In today's video, we will discuss GUI automation using Selenium WebDriver and Python. Selenium is an open source and freely available software which is widely used for GUI automation in different browser and platforms. Python is also a programming language which is available freely, and it has a large and comprehensive standard libraries which can be used to automate test cases. So in today's video we will discuss uh, two things. One is PyUnit, which is a framework of Python which is being used for GUI and API test cases, and secondly we will discuss Selenium WebDriver. So for PyUnit we will discuss how we can install it or how we can place its binaries on our system for the target platform. Common terminologies which are being used in PyUnit, it would be helpful in creating test cases. Then the test case development, how we can create a small test case using PyUnit. Then it also gives us to develop test suites, which can be a combination of many test cases, and we can create different suites and we can run them sequentially in our test framework. Then there would be some important links which we can visit to get more insight into PyUnit from internet. Secondly, we will discuss Selenium WebDriver, how we can place its libraries or how we can install it on our target platform like Mac, on Linux. There are different dialects of Linux and Windows. How we can create a WebDriver object, because this is the first thing in creating a test case using Selenium WebDriver. Then test case development and Selenium libraries import. Obviously, there are different libraries we would need to import into our test case. So we will see that how we can import them and what library is being used for what purpose. Then the first step after creating WebDriver object is to navigate the URL. Obviously, through this URL navigation, we can access our website, and then there will be element navigation. For example, if we want to click on any button, or if we want to fill any text in any text field, or if we want to select anything from the drop down option, how we can do that. So we will look into these things. So let us go through the common terminologies used, or we can describe a structure of a test case in a PyUnit framework. And there are different terminologies used. You can see on screen that some of them are explained here. So in this hierarchy, first comes test fixture. Test fixture are actually small functions which are executed before or after a test method in PyUnit. The commonly used functions are these test fixtures are setup, teardown, setup class, teardown class. As name implies, setup, you can guess that setup class or teardown class methods, these are executed actually at class level, while setup and teardown functions, these are executed before and after a test method. If we take an example of a website which requires login function
and at the end of testing it requires a logout function. So we can define our login functionality or code for login activity within the setup function, and we can create our actual test case within the test method, and then we can create or define our logout functionality within the teardown method. So this is a simple example of how we can use this test fixture. In this line, second comes test method. Test method is actually that function which contains the actual code or the scenario for our testing. The class in which this test method is defined, it is very important that it should be inherited through unit test dot test case. The commonly used test method is run test. We can define all our test scenario within this, and after that comes test suite. Test suite is actually a collection of many test cases, or it can be a collection of many test suites, or sometimes it can be combination of test cases and test suites. Here question arises, why do we develop test suites, or why do we create them? So a simple answer to this question can be that it is always not possible that we can create all of our test scenarios within one single test case. So in this case what we do, we create different test cases which are covering different aspect of our application, and then at the end we group them into a test suite. From the framework point of view, it becomes easy to run all these test cases in one go. So the prime example for a test suite can be the regression test suite, the smoke level test suites, the sanity level test suite. So what we can do, the test cases which are included in sanity level test suite, we can exclude them from regression or smoke level test cases. After that comes test runner. Test runner is actually a component of the test framework which is actually responsible for the execution of our test cases, and at the end of the execution it is also responsible for handing over the test results of the execution to the application, so that we can use them for our convenience. So what type of information it actually provides to the user? It gives you the number of test cases which are executed, it gives you the number of test cases which are passed, it gives you the number of test cases which are failed, or the number of test cases which are skipped during the execution. Now let us discuss about a small test case. On the screen you can see that some line of codes, and at the end of slide you can see the output which is obtained from this test case class. As a first line you can see that we have imported a unit test, which is a library which will be used. What we have done, we have created a test class first test case which is inherited from unit test case. Then after that I defined a setup function. A print statement is provided within that. After that I created run test, which I explained earlier that this is the function which actually contains the actual testing scenario, and at the end there is another function teardown, So there is another statement printed in that, and now comes these two magic lines which actually will execute our this test case, this if name equals to man. So unit test dot man should be executed. So whenever we will execute this class or this module, this output will be given. You can see whatever is printed in the setup function, that gets printed first, then what is within the run test, it is printed, and then what is given in the tear down method, it is printed at the end. So this output is not because we have defined our these functions in this sequence, rather whenever whatever sequence we provide, we defined all these functions, these will be executed in this sequence, that first of all setup function will be executed, then run test function will be executed, and at the end of tear down function will be executed. So this is a very simple example which is explained. So on the next uh, sorry, on the next slide I have explained somewhat more complex scenario in which I have created three different test cases in three different modules, and I have imported that modules within this module, and I have using these modules I have created test suite, and then I run these test cases with the help of this test suite. So let us go line by line how this test case is developed. You can see that as a first line I have imported a unit test, and then we also require test suite. Test suite is imported, and then all these three modules which contains then all these three modules which contains our test cases, these are imported. So first of all, an object of the test suite is defined, and then I have added these modules or test cases within our this suite. You can see the following lines, and at the end of the file, this statement unit test dot test runner dot run, and then I provided the test suite. Within that it will execute the test suite, sorry, it will execute all these three test cases and provide the result to us. So this is what we theoretically explained PyUnit. Now I would like to switch to PyCharm and will explain all these examples practically, so practically there, so it would be more informative for you. Let me switch to it for switch to PyCharm. This is PyCharm. So viewers, I assume that you have some practical knowledge of PyCharm, so I'm not going into my detail of that here. I will just explain the project which contains our two scenarios and how they are run. So you can see that I have created one project within this PyCharm with presentation. When I collapse it, you can see a couple of test case files with extension .py beneath it. So let me open this single test example. So this is the example which we explained as a first option during the presentation. You can see that I have imported unit test, and then I created first test class, which is actually inherited from unit test dot test case. Then I defined setup class, the same some helping statements are printed within that. Then run test, and same statement is printed. Then tear down function, some helping statement is printed within that, and then these two magic lines which are going to execute over this test case scenario. So this is the example, and now I am going to run this. I go to run menu and select run option. It will pop up this. You can select your, and here it goes. You can see, let me make it a big larger view, so you can see that the output is printed here, the same sequence. First of all, whatever is defined in setup function, that is printed. Then what is defined within the run test, it is printed, and at the end of tear down method is executed. So as I explained during the presentation, that it is not necessary that in the sequence which are in which these functions are defined, they will be executed. Rather, this is a logical execution of the functions. So we can play with it like this. If I cut this function and I place it before run test method, okay, and again execute it. If I execute it again, you will see that the same sequence, execution of the same sequence you will find. Let me execute it. Yeah, here it comes, and you can see that whatever is first of all a setup function is executed, then run test function is executed, and at the end of that tear down function is executed. So this was a simple example in which we did not create any test suite, and we just created one Py module, and within that I created one simple scenario. So the second example in which I created a test suite, for that I have created these three test modules. Let me open them. First, you can say test case 1, in which I have created one test case, setup function, run test function, tear down function, and you can see that I have not defined any these two magic lines which I have written within this example. So same case with our test case 2. Setup function, run test function, tear down function is defined. Test case 3, same. You can find a bit difference in the print statement, but all of these three functions are would be common within three test cases. So we have defined our three test cases within three different .py files, and after that I have created another Py module, test case underscore executor, and within this module what I have done, first of all I have imported unit test. Then from unit test I have imported test suite. which will be used to develop the test suite from our already created these 3 test cases. Then I imported these 3 test cases within this file. This time I created the object of the test suite. Then one by one I added the test cases to our suite like this. First test case, then second test case, then third test case, and after that this is our test runner. As I explained it during the presentation, you can see that test suite has been provided as a argument to run, and so this test suite will be containing all these 3 test cases. So whatever after execution it will provide result to this result module, and we can print that and see what it is going to be. So so now I'm going to execute it. Let me execute test executor. Click on this, and here it goes. Let me make it a little bit bigger so that you can have a good view of the output. So you can see that all 3 test cases are executed. This statement is printed. Okay, you can see here, and after that tear down method is executed of this class. Then setup function of this class is executed. Then run test of this class is executed, and then tear down method of that class is executed. Then setup function of third test case is executed. Then run test of third test case is executed, and then tear down method of third test case is executed. So this is the execution of the test cases. Now as you can see that, and I explained earlier that whatever is the result of the execution that you can capture within within your object, and you can print that. You can use that for your on your convenience. So you see that it has been printed out here. It says that 3 test cases are run. There are no error, or there are no failures within that. However, today we are going to start our second section of the training, in which Selenium part will be covered. However, today we are going to start our second section of the training, in which we will cover Selenium WebDriver part. So as everybody knows that Selenium is a test automation tool which is open source, and it is freely available from the website. Anybody can download it for its platform and can easily use it. One misconception which about Selenium WebDriver which commonly exist among the testers is that might be we need to install Selenium WebDriver. So please kindly make it clear in your minds that like other software, we do not need to install Selenium. Rather we will download its jar libraries, and we will place that jar libraries in our system path, and we can import within our test cases and can easily use that. So there is no installation required for Selenium WebDriver. So second thing, the Selenium is available for almost all main platforms. It is available for Windows, it is available for Linux, and it is also available for Mac. Then if we talk about in terms of browsers, so it is also available for most of the major browser we use in our daily life, like Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, Opera, etc. Then obviously while coding we face different issues and we need help. Sometimes we can find that help through our colleagues, and sometimes we need to Google that, and you will find a huge Selenium related help on Stack Flow. So here is a link at the end of the slide. You can create your login on that, and without even creating your login you can Google your problem on the internet, and you can easily find its solutions. So before starting that training, there is some expectations which I expect that the viewers are aware of: how we can download Selenium and Chrome driver, and how to define XPath for an element, because these are two things which we will use in our ongoing slides. So first of all, you can download Selenium jar files from its website. You just Google it on the internet, and you will easily navigate it to the website from where you can download Selenium and driver for your choice of the Firefox, choice of the your choice of browser. So secondly, these are the commands which you also can use to install Selenium on your Windows, Linux and Mac. Pip install Selenium version, pip install com driver underscore installer. This is the version and then option related to that. So pip, as you can recall, pip is a Python installer package. You should already install this package on your system, and then using this command you can install Selenium and Chrome driver. So most of the part I will more focus on the PyCharm, so it will give you a practical knowledge of creating test case. So I will not focus much on slides for this. So let me just jump for that. Here it is. I have already created one Selenium related test case which we can use. So you can see, first of all I have imported some libraries like time system library, then some libraries related to PyUnit, and then some libraries related to Selenium. So I have imported them. Then I imported Firefox driver. Then I created a class for Selenium class which is inherited from a unit test case. Then I defined a setup function, and within that setup function I have created driver object. So this driver object is of type Firefox. So whenever we will navigate, so our website will be navigated in Firefox. So second this command, I navigated to Google. So this is the end of the setup class. After that starts our run test, which is, if you can recall our previous slides, this is the function where we actually define our real scenario to be tested. So within, if we just have a look at the code written within that, we can see that first of all I have used WebDriver wait statement to wait login page, login button page to appear. When this login button will page will appear, it will go to next statement. So next statement, on next statement it will click on the login button, and after that it will click on the uh, mm, that text box in which we need to enter our email address. Then it will click on the next button, and so that we can enter our password for the email, and then after that it will enter a password, and then there are again some wait statements, so that we are sure that before clicking on the next button, the next button is available and it is clickable, and then it will click on that uh, next button after entering password. So this is end of our run test scenario function. So after that the tear down function, where we are actually quitting from our web browser. So then these two magic lines which actually execute our this test case. So this is a simple test case which contain the code to navigate to create a Firefox WebDriver object, then navigate Google into that, and then navigating to the login page, and then entering basic information to log into the system. So here it is. So now what I am going to do, I am going to run this test case. So what it will do, it will first of all it will launch Firefox browser, and after that it will navigate to Google, and then it will navigate to login page, where it will enter the information, and then it will log into the Gmail account. The Gmail account information I have provided here. So let me run this test case. Go to run the Selenium first. Here it goes. So you see it launched the browser, Firefox browser. Now it will click on this sign in button. Yeah, it is navigated to sign in page. It entered the email and the password, and then it clicked on the next, and it is logged in. So here it is goes. So you can see that it is successfully logged into the system, to the Gmail account. So now this is launched in Firefox browser, but we can also use other WebDriver, like if we want to launch it in Chrome driver. So what would we need to do? We will first of all need to import Chrome. Okay, let me exclude this because it is no more needed, and instead of Firefox we just need to write this, And now if I run the test case, now our test case will be executed in Chrome. So just let me, before quitting the browser, let me put a little bit of sleep so that you can see that it is successfully logged into the system. So I'm writing this statement to wait it for 10 seconds. Wait for 10 seconds before quitting browser. So I will now run it again, and you will see that our test case will be executed in Chrome. You see it is being launched in Chrome. It clicked on the sign in button. Now the email page, next button, next page where password is entered, and now it will click on next, and you see it has been logged in successfully. And now why it is waiting? Because we have put sleeps, so it waited for 10 seconds and then it exited. uh, with this training, our Python related training has ended. So if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, you can raise your concerns to me, and I will try my level best to respond that as soon as possible on this email, and test.automation.training55@gmail.com. Thank you, viewers.